question here.
Hold on, Joe. Okay, so just to recap, this is a recording of some brief training for Catalyst Circle version 3. We're just going into the GitHub organization of Catalyst Circle and looking at a repository for Catalyst prioritized problems. And Joey, you have a question.
Yes, so to access this prioritized problem board, I don't need to get a login per se, because it's open to myself already. You've given me privileges to that. That's separate from my login to GitHub. Is that correct?
The reason why you have a login and a profile is so that you can change things. I mean, that's what I wanted to talk about today, particularly. And that's really to get you to engage with GitHub in this, because not anyone in the world can see this. This is the other point that we do this. It's completely open source. So that's another thing, actually, I would say to you, be careful what you put on here, because anyone can comment on it. And that's the whole point, because it's full transparency. And that's why it's on GitHub, and that's, So if you're, I just would say that again, if you have any access to privileged information, private information, just be careful how you're putting things on here. That's all I'm saying. But the point for a login, as you say, Joey, is to be able to manipulate the information here. Okay, so everything lives in what's called GitHub issues, which are these things here, but we've called them prioritized problems by means of labeling. And so not all these issues here are to do with Catalyst Circle. Some of them are to do with community issues, and we can talk. I know you raised that at the meeting yesterday. We can talk about that further later on, and potentially even sub-circle issues, like for Nadia or for Mercy. They could go in here as well, and they could be filtered by these labels. If you want to see prioritized problems, you'd click on that label here, and anyone, this is completely public, so anyone can come along to this list of issues here and click on any of these labels to see any of these issues. Now, another thing that I noticed confusion raised, and it's because I didn't filter the view yesterday on what was open and closed. If it says green here, it's open. If it says red, it's closed. And I think there was some confusion yesterday at your meeting because there were some closed issues that were actually marked red. But no one noticed that because they don't know the difference, understandably, between a green issue and a red issue. These closed issues here, or purple sometimes as well. So it's purple, it's closed, it's green, it's open. Now, if you click on any of these, also, well, you've got assignees. This is like a standard view, you've got assignees here. If you click on any of these, it'll open up the issue itself. And this, I can understand where you're coming from, Dumpling. This looks like, oh my God, what is this? Because this actually comes from developers originally. This is what GitHub was intended for, and that's often a barrier for new users. But the reason why we use this is because everything that happens to this is recorded. So Harris 2 days ago added these labels. I added that label 2 days ago. I added it to the problem backlog 2 days ago and then signed Harris. So everything we do is recorded, absolutely everything. And this is only appropriate for something that is a public governance body, or so that what you're doing is fully transparent, And then if I want to comment on this, I can just say this is something whatever. I can comment on that, and anyone can do that. Okay, not everyone can delete it. That's only I can delete it because I have superpowers, but no one else can delete it, only me. but the idea, because I'm an administrator, but the idea is that if anyone comes along and comments on that, that's there forever, and it allows platforms to comment on that issue and so on. What I'm going to try and do, if I stop share.
So, quick question
is,
so if we're talking to a community member about this board, should we encourage him to come here and comment, or do you want them to,
Again, it
Excellent.
depends on accessibility issues. Like obviously not. I mean, this is what was great about what you were talking about, Dumpling, because, and I found this because we've been using this for a while over the past year, and there's a kind of a strategic direction in Cardano towards open source. But having said that, not everyone knows this, it's a tool that isn't accessible to everyone. So I would make a judgment call, Joey. I would say, is this person the kind of person who would use GitHub? And then we do have a few of those in our community because we have a lot of developers.
Sure.
You know, and they will come along and they can comment on anything. They can even raise issues themselves, but the principle there is that they can't raise prioritized problems. Only circle members can raise prioritized problems in the backlog. But anyone can come along and raise an issue and put it and tag it as a community issue or something like that as well. So, and anyone can come along and comment on that if they have a GitHub account, but they won't be able to change any of the status of the issue. They won't be able to, for example, reassign it to someone else or close it, and they won't be able to move it along the board.
Understand.
Yeah, everyone here, you should be able to do that, although there are procedural matters as I've raised, like because you're circle members, you should be doing that together. Okay, so, but Dumpling.
Guys, I have a quick question about the process of today's meeting. Would it be possible if we first go through the entire process for me and Nadia to be able to use this? We know exactly how to use it. And then we have the questions saved for later. Yeah. In the interest of time, would that be possible?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Joey, should be, yeah, sorry, got a bit distracted there. What I was going to try and do, Dumpling, was to pass co-host over to make, where you gone? To make you a host, Dumpling, and for you to go through the board yourself. Would you like to that approach, or would you like me to continue going through it myself?
We can do that. You can give me the host, and you can. Yeah, I can walk you through.
Because what I want to see is how is your difficulties. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna change. Give you host, and if there's that link in chat. So if you can share your screen, then we can see how you going along to that. I'll repaste it again. So we can start from.
I share my screen.
It should be, if you're on a computer, it should be at the bottom. Share screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And here's the there's the link for that's the link for the overall organization. Okay. So what I want you to do is to share your screen and to go to that organization, and then we can talk through how to act from there from the beginning. It's just a suggestion because in the past it's been very helpful to see, how difficult that is. Questions, accessibility issues.
Oh no, I have to give access, and then I'll have to be forced to exit and re-enter Zoom. So that's gonna take a while.
Okay.
If Nadia would be able to do that, we can use her as an example. Maybe
okay.
Nadia, do you want to do that?
Okay. Do you want to pass the host over to Nadia? I think you have to because you're the host.
Yeah, okay. Nadia is host now.
Okay, Nadia, can you go to there and share your screen?
Yep. There it is.
Oh, cool. Great. Okay. Okay, so the first thing to do is to go to it's actually the repository we're interested in is pinned at the top, the Catalyst prioritize problems. If you click on, if you want to click around, but yeah, that's the actual repo. You can even edit the markdown file there. If you click on the little pencil, Nadia, there on the, and you can just type in anything you want there. I can delete it later. So, and then scroll down and right to the bottom. You could even put a comment there to say what you've done, but just commit changes. You could put just something that you can do. Yeah, just to bear that in mind. Yeah, comment that. And as you can see, a lot of that is using the language of development, but all it is updating the document, really. But that allows you to collaboratively edit stuff. But that's not what we're here for. It's just to give you an example to make you familiar with this environment. So if you click on issues at the top, you see there's a list of stuff at the top. There's code issues. Click on issues, and that's where we were before. Now, if you want to maybe select one of your own, oh no, let's do a brand new issue, okay? Because I thought, okay, so this Dumpling, if you wanted to raise, let's say you talk to Cardano Foundation or something, and you have an issue that you want to raise. Okay, so if you just type in a title there of something, Nadia, like an issue you want to raise or something in that title, just anything really. I can, don't worry, I can delete it later or whatever.
I'll also probably do one here. Let me think. Let's do the languages one because
okay. Yeah. I mean, bear in mind the title will appear on the board. So, you know, it needs to be descriptive of what it is and quite short as well. And then in the body of the issue, you would be more expansive. You could just cut and paste that or something. Yeah, but but also you could put in a lot of documentation there. You could put links to documents as well.
Upload documents.
You can paste in videos. You can paste in images. As well. So if you see all across the top there's links. Be careful, or as I said before, be careful what you link here because it's public. Okay. So if you have, for example, a document that is like a Google Sheet, be careful about it's not edit status, it's view status. Because obviously if it's on here, someone will be able to click that link and go along and edit the document. So be sure if that's what you want to do. You know. It's just that thing, everything here is public. Yeah, that's all. Okay.
Everything here is public and final, right, Stephen?
It's final in the sense that it's you can't, well, don't tell anyone I can delete it because you're not supposed the only reason why I delete it is in case someone writes something terrible. So you always need someone to be able to do that. But no one can delete anything. So what you could do, if you deleted something, there'll be a record of what you deleted. That's all that would happen. So, yeah.
So mostly we use linked kind of Google Docs and things like that here. So if I had an attachment or some kind of a.
You could, people take different approaches, and I can give some examples. And people like any documentation, people have different approaches. Some people like to be very concise and just say, here's links to all the information outside. Now, Dumpling, for example, if you're comfortable with documenting things on other platforms, maybe that's a good approach. Okay, let's say you're documenting something on a Google document or Twitter even, yeah? You could just paste in the links there saying, for more information, look at this Twitter thread. You don't have to put it all in here. It's just a place where people can come to see where everything is. Does that help, Nadia?
Yep.
Okay. Now, before if you just submit that, you can just submit that issue. Okay, now, as you see, everything is tracked. At the top there, you've just got what you've opened now. That will change to a timestamp and a date stamp. So, that's forever. So today you put that issue in and you opened it and you commented on it. As you see, images can fill out there. I think videos can be embedded as well. and possibly other stuff as well. And then people can comment on that issue, and you can, if you go back up to the top, Nadia, as well, and you think you want to add something, if you click on the three dots there, then you can edit, and yeah, and you can add something else to that issue. And then when you want to add,
So what if I'm like, oops, I put the wrong
yeah,
attachment in like this? I can change all that, right? Because it's me. But
yes, only you and well, actually, anyone in Circle or anyone who has access rights to this board, I could go in and change it as well. But
okay, so it's not forever in that. It's forever in the sense of it's not forever that I can't change something if I make a mistake or upload the wrong thing, but it's forever that other people can't.
Let's say I was a kind of a bad actor and I went in there and I said, Nadia didn't say this, she said this, and that was not, and that's a bad example, but I could change it and it would change, but there would be an audit trail of that.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So there will be you could revert back to the previous version. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, so that's how you would do that. And then so that's for editing the issue, opening the issue. Now let's think about assigning the issue. Okay, on the right, these things on the right hand side. So the first obvious thing is to assign yourself. That will assign yourself. But if you click on there, you can assign other people as well. So let's assign everyone else who's here. Maybe not Dimitri, but maybe Joey and Dumpling should be there. Hopefully.
Strange. Also, I was not able to assign myself.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that issue. Yeah, let's see. Have you received an invite, Dumpling?
Invite to GitHub.
Yeah.
I will need to check that.
Yeah, I'll just check. No, I don't have you. Do you have a GitHub profile?
Yes, I do. I can send you now.
Yeah, okay. If you send it to me now, I'll send you an invite now. Okay. But that's why that's a good example, because you can't change this, Dumpling, because you're not added as a member. Now, if I add you now, hopefully, might take me a little while, I'm going to say.
Do I need to do anything to accept invite?
It should appear in your email.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find invite member. GitHub. Okay, I've sent the invite now, so you should receive that in your email. It may take a minute or so. But while we're waiting for that, Nadia, would you like to look at labels?
Yep.
Okay, so labels are, again, how we're not only how we're classifying things, but how something becomes a prioritized problem in the first place. So obviously the first label is it's a prioritized problem. So that would be, you click on that. You scroll up to the top. I need to tidy up these labels actually.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I need to delete a lot of these labels because it's quite confusing. Then you might want to put who you are, which is community advisor. Yeah. Then click away from that. There you go. Then this is a bit more less clear because we're using advanced beta features, but projects will assign it to the board essentially. So if you click on prioritized problems there, and click away, that's there. Now you can put it into where it says awaiting triage. If you click on that, no. If you click on it, it will take you to the board. But if you click underneath that, okay. Okay. Well,
sorry, I have a quick question. The board is the visualization of the issues. Should we understand it like that?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Another way to understand it is it's a view on all the issues, because it filters all the issues as well. Okay, I'm not sure why it's doing that, Nadia. So I have to look at that. But the
It's trying to puzzle you in a recorded session.
you are well. There's always something I've been.
No, I'm not.
I mean, yeah, I'm not perfect. Have you received that? Let me know when you've received that email or accepted the email.
I just joined. You can see me.
Right. Well, okay. Let's see if that works then. Can you go back to assignees and look for? We have Bullish Dumpling.
Yep.
Bullish Dumpling is now a member of the club. And oh my God, we have a record of that now because Nadia assigned Bullish Dumpling, so she can't say she hasn't. She certainly has. So yeah. Okay, I'm not quite sure how it happened with the projects. Okay, so this is an issue. Is there any other further questions about issues? I will talk about projects and project boards and go on to that in a minute. Is there anything you would like to do with an issue, or what would you like to document here?
Recap, I guess, for whoever is watching the recording. What we do is basically submit a new issue. We could assign people, we could add labels. That's it. It's pretty straightforward, right? Adding new issues.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, from the point of view of who your community is, like this is what you can refer to. So if you're on Twitter, you can tweet a link to this issue. Okay, or if you're on Telegram or whatever, just say if again, Joey, it's a judgment call about whether we want to direct people here, because maybe you don't want to if they don't like GitHub. But if they do, if you think they can use GitHub, you can say to people, go to here and comment on this, or go to here and read about this. Okay.
Where do you pull the link from? Is it?
I see if you scroll up, Nadia, there should be, it's actually the link of the page, the URL of the page.
Oh, okay. Just to the URL.
Yeah, that's it. That's the link. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Now, if you go to we go away from this now.
Sorry, Stephen. Can I just interrupt you real fast for one question?
Yeah.
Here's the question. So I share that link within the community. The community can come here. The only reason you need an account is so that you can be assigned. You don't need, you can otherwise comment on it. Like I could send this to other CAs and they could come in and comment directly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
They shouldn't be able to edit the body either. So
has that been tested?
Sometimes I lose track of who's been assigned.
Okay.
Everyone who's ever been a Circle member, Circle admin, and myself might be able to edit that body. But as I said before, there are safeguards because even if I went in there and deleted everything, there'll be a record of that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I won't go through that today because it's a bit like code, really. And that's what it's code versioning system this was built on. So, and the idea was that if you made a mistake, you could roll it back. So anyway, going back to the old system, the old board was under projects. So if you go to projects, Nadia, at the top, and then click on not the beta, the one underneath. Now, there's two ones I've set up. Now, let me just give some background. This caused a little bit of confusion yesterday. Originally, there was only one board, which was the prioritized problems board, and we'll look at that in a minute. In January, or actually February, I'm not sure January, I think it was January, I set up a board called Community Issues. And the reason why I set that up was to allow anyone in the world to put an issue in. So any member of Catalyst can raise an issue. But of course, if everyone did that and then was on the problem board, that'd be a problem. So if you have anyone who wants to, let's say, Nadia, someone comes to you and says, I have an issue I want to raise, where can I go? And they would take it there. I mean, you can open that if you like. Yeah. And they are labeled community issues. Now, they don't have any, if you want to, there's no process. This is another thing maybe Circle wants to address. There's no process for this at all at the moment. All it is just a place to allow people to go and put issues. You have no obligation to do anything with this at all. Okay, but the reason, a lot of them were set up open by Marks.co, some of them by myself. That's something you might want to think about as Circle. but it's just to tell you that exists. And it's a place where you can prioritize problems potentially, Joey, as well. That's why I created it. So, because as we know, there are problems with the board. Let's look back at if you click back on projects, Nadia, we go back to the prioritize problems board. This is the old version. If you click on that, this is the old version, which you've been used to. And I'm not sure how intuitive you found it or not. People's opinions vary. But if you take the first card on the problem backlog, Nadia, and don't click on it, but just drag it across to raw problems. Okay, and just drop it there. We can put it back. Okay, that's another thing you can do. Okay, right. Because you need access rights to do that. So Nadia's now changed the status of that from problem backlog to raw problems, and also there'll be an audit trail of that as well. So if you want to shift that back. Yeah.
Should we try to keep track of both boards or just
no?
Focus on the new one?
I'm showing you this board because it's what you've been using, but then I'm going to move on to the new board. It's just to give you an idea of what's going on here, because these boards are just views and filters of the data. Another thing you can do is if you just double click or click on the title, that will open the issue up. Do you want to do that, Nadia, on any of them? Well, in this case, it'll open it on the side, but then you've got go to issue for full details at the bottom, and that'll open it in a new window. Okay. And then you can edit it as you have access. You could change the status if you have access, but people have commented on it as well. This is where people have actually commented on stuff as well. And you have the audit trail. Okay. Okay, so that's the old board. And I don't want to. Is there any questions about the old board because we're going on to the new board?
And they're not linked. These two boards aren't linked together. So if we move something on this,
they are.
Board,
No, it's just it's the same data. It's just
the same data in the background, but they're not linked. As if we move something on this board across, it doesn't impact the other board.
No, it will.
Oh, will.
Let me explain.
It's just a different way of visualizing it, right?
Yeah.
New board.
Yeah. I mean, let's go on to. I mean, Dumpling, do you have any questions on this?
No, just a conclusion. We don't need to work on the old one. We just need to know how it works. We're moving on to the new one, right?
Yeah, but okay, let's go on to the new one. So if you click away to Cater's circle root, Nadia.
I'm sorry, which one?
That one. That's the right. Sorry, I'm using jargon. Yeah, it's in a completely. Unfortunately, it's in a completely different place altogether because GitHub introduced new features. If you go to projects at the top there on the right hand side, I don't know. Click away from that. Okay, this is the new beta views for view, and these literally views on data in the repositories. The difference is you can have a view in the new one, you can view multiple, you can create a project board across multiple repositories. Okay. And well, as Dumpling says, let's just dive in. So if you click on prioritize problems there, Nadia. Okay, and that's what you've been familiar with yesterday. Now, you can, this is exactly the same data that was in those issues, Joey, okay? But let's say you want to add an issue here, you can add an issue here, okay? So go to problem backlog, but go to your section actually. The way this is laid out is overview and then a tab for each representative. So if you go to your community advisor representative tab, you don't have to, but yeah. And then go to problem backlog and add item. So just add something, we can delete it. Anything we can delete it, so it doesn't really matter. So okay, and then press enter on that. That should.
This item was created, but it has been hidden because it's not.
Yeah, I've kind of been too clever for myself. Okay, so go back to overview. Right. Okay, it's because it's filtered. Okay.
Okay.
Now go to the left-hand side where it has the arrow by the number 3. Convert to issue. and then choose prioritize problems. So it's now an issue on prioritize problems. Okay. Then assign that to yourself. Go along to there, assign that to yourself, and then go back to your tab. That should appear in your tab now, hopefully. No, it hasn't. Okay, add the item.
It's not tagged as mine though, right? So if you
that's it. That's the reason. Yeah, got it. Yeah, so you need to add a label on it. 2 labels actually. You need to add prioritize problems and community, and that's it. Yeah. So that should appear now, hopefully.
Yay!
Right. Okay, great. And your signee is not there, which is a bit weird. Not sure why that. You can sign yourself there as. Oh, it is there. Is it? Let's check it. Okay, so there you go. I'm not sure if you think that's simpler or not. It's still an issue. So if you clicked on that, the heading of that issue, Nadia, it'll open it up, and that's still an issue. Yeah. So again, you could go here and edit it. Everything that we've said before. That's all it is. Okay.
It feels like it has more steps to create it, but it doesn't really. I mean, if you created it and you clicked on it and then you did all this stuff inside, it would do the same thing we just did outside of it, right?
Yeah. The reason why we're using beta features, I'll show you if you go back to the board. No, it's on the tab that you're in the other tab. It opens you up in a new window. Nadia.
Shoot. Got it.
Got it. Yeah. So the reason why, because the beta features allow you to customize status, add due dates, and group by different statuses. So it's more customizable, put it that way. But it does create more step. Well, I'm not sure if it does create more steps. Actually, that's a good question.
I don't think it creates more. It's just if you don't do them up front, it doesn't show up where you think it's going to.
Yeah, that's because it's filtered. That's right. Yeah. So let's look at that. So the overview, what I did, I created an overview which basically just groups everything by its status, which, well, not, but the status there is that thing across the board, like problem backlog. If you click on the arrow there on your problem that you just created, Nadia, the state problem backlog. Now on the where it says status in the middle of the screen, go across to the right hand side. Yeah. Now here you say, Dumpling, this, and I noticed this came up at the meeting actually, and it's not something we can resolve today. Where did these come from? Okay, they were defined problem backlog, raw problems, well-defined problems, all that. They came from originally defined by Governance Alive, which is a consultancy that works with IOG and the community to make a definition of what Catalyst Circle was. Okay, I'll have documentation of that if you want to see where that came from, but too much detail for now. But what you need to think about now, and obviously it came up at the meeting yesterday, is do you still want to work like this? Do you still want these? Because as Nori pointed out, they are not very intuitive categorizations necessarily. Although Harris did say that they do pertain to a process. Okay, so I'll just leave that hanging there. As Circle, you can change this, but you need to relate it to the process because you're essentially redesigning the process, and then we can change it. You know,
it's really helpful then for us in the very beginning, like now, just to know which ones we will be using most frequently, and we can work on understanding the other ones, like minimum viable concepts we need to understand.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, Dumpling, they're not very well. I mean, I'll probably need maybe another session we could do where I could dig up where they came from and what they mean, which is maybe a bit out of scope for what we're doing today. But, and I can't really, even myself, I kind of know what they mean, but I have to refer back to the documentation. And I've been documenting Circle from the beginning, you know, so obviously we need to work on this, you know, because it's not intuitive. And also I think it's kind of not accessible, because when someone says, if you said something on one of your Twitter spaces, Dumpling, oh, I have this problem and it's raw problems researching, everyone's going to say, what?
Yeah, Stephen, 100%. This is so confusing.
Yeah. So can we all think about what it means? Okay. And I know we're not going to resolve this today. Okay. So look at the order and I try and remember. Okay, problem backlog. Why is a problem backlog? That's where you initially put stuff and it doesn't have a status. Okay, so it allows circle members to put stuff on the board without their decision being made, because you have to make decisions together. Okay, this is the other thing I've been trying to say on Slack as well. Okay, now you're in a meeting, it's on the problem backlog. Okay, you're doing something with it. Okay, and the original idea was that you would do research on that problem. Okay, so you'd be looking at the problem, you might be going out to the community, talking to the community and talking about that. There's different ways of doing research, obviously, everything from a Twitter space to a town hall to conversations. I mean, maybe we should change that to researching rather than just raw problems, for example, because what is raw problems? I suppose raw problems means it's just not defined. And then you get on to the next one, which is well defined. And that means that you've gone out to the community, you've had your feedback, and you've documented that and crystallized that into a well-defined problem. That's all that means. Okay. So what, and also in brackets, that's ready. Okay. This is where the confusion comes in, because I think they're basing it on some, by the way, I think this is based on a mixture of governance alive and internal IOG processes as well. It's quite interesting, Dumpling and Nadia. It's like, because this gives us a view into how IOG themselves operate. Okay, and also how they work with governance alive, how they develop their governance processes, and that kind of thing. And that's what Harris was referring to. There's a kind of a product aspect to this. And I kind of push back against this sometimes myself. This is my warning, this is my point of view, but I think not everything is a product. Okay, but
it does seem like, especially if it comes from the community, like if the community is the censor of the problem, and then so problem backlog in my mind is like raised issues.
Yeah.
And then like the second thing to your point about researching is like we're all thinking about it, talking about it, looking for, and it's not the conversation, it's the pursuit of information to give us a picture of what's happening. And then we've done that, and now we have a well-defined problem, which is we thought about this, we looked at it, we considered it, here's the links of different things that we've gone through. And then,
I can go back
maybe.
So if I can go back to, because I just need to pick you up on that word issues. It's like and that's why I created community issues as a separate board, because there's a tendency, and we've seen this in what I call board clutter. Okay, so what you put on this board are problems, not issues. Okay, what's the difference? Let's say you go to well, first of all, you have a problem, and it needs to be quite general. Okay, because these are because it's reach catches circle, because it's a general issue. It's not my, my plumbing doesn't work or something, or you need to fix this, something specific. It's something systemic. It's like a method for selecting the Catalyst Technical Council. It's not, we have a particular problem, a particular problem is an issue, and that would go on something. I mean, that's something we might do in a subcircle, Nadia. Yeah. So a subcircle would collect together issues that relate to a problem. Yeah.
This board only visualizes problems, not issues.
Not issues. But if you want to do that, we can do that as well.
No.
No, but the thing is, this you only have so many hours in the day, Dumpling, don't you? So it's not like, and that's what circle reps are for. You're supposed to problem sense the community. So by the time problems get to you, they should be crystallized. You should be dealing with, individual issues. You shouldn't be dealing with the minotaur. You should be dealing with the summary of something significant, that reflects community concerns. That's what should be on the board. And the other thing is, because this IOG and Governance Alive took a product approach to this, it should be something that has a solution. You're working towards a solution. So that's why, and you need to think about this as a circle, because I have my own views on this. Harris will have his own view. He'll come from an IOG perspective. He'll say, what you're doing here, these problems are related to governance, and in broad terms they are, okay? So what are you going to do with them? You know, what's the solution? That's why we're here.
Is there a requirement that we as circle reps, we should be submitting problems versus issues, pick one or the other, or we can do either or both?
I mean, again, I think there's confusion over that, and I mean, I try to advise, but I'm conscious that I don't want to intervene too much, because it's not for me to tell you what is an issue and what is a problem. You know, I can advise you, and I can say, try and keep it general, and it should reflect your community's concerns. It should also incorporate differing views. That's very important from your community, not just your own view. That's what I've said. But beyond that, it's up to you, Joey.
Yeah, back to the board itself. What I found confusing yesterday is, like, on the old board, it was pretty clear that T&M owned that problem, and there were other people associated. But when they started on this board, it put my ownership on everybody that was associated with it, put it on their tab.
This is a process issue, because what's happened is people have shared problems. So, and which has created the multiple labels. And this is now what I can do, I can refilter this board. If you go back to community advisors, Nadia, on the tab there, I could refilter this so it just shows Nadia as assignee. So at the moment it's filtered by the label community advisor. Okay, so that shows every problem that includes the label community advisor, and that's why that includes problems that you share with everyone else, like, for example, listening culture and stuff like that, because listening culture is shared with everyone. Yeah,
I think that's best, because that way just our role shows up under our tab.
But I won't do it now, but I can filter this by assigning. I won't do it right now. So
I understand.
But
it's a really important delineation here too, because you can see the difference. Like, this is a task and
exactly.
and a very specific, like, it's not really I guess the issue is that the guide needs updating, and the task is to update the guide. But there's a big difference between that and initiating a code of conduct for Catalyst Circle members. Like, that's you can really, it's intuitive. If you look at them, you can think, okay, well, this is something that is going to be checked off and done. But this is something that really needs, you use the words like systemic and governance. Like, this needs real consideration, and the outcome of that is going to be a new way of approaching things. Same for these ones from Kenrick.
I'm working with other projects on, let's say you had a subcircle, you do have a subcircle of CAs, and that subcircle could handle issues. So that issue, if it's not a problem, update the CA guide. It shouldn't be on this board. So if you click on that issue, Nadia, update the guide, okay, and then just take off the prioritized problems label, go to the little thing at the side, and just take that off. And then put it under, you could, if we had another label, well, actually add a label, you could add a label there saying CA subcircle, put the label in there, just add it now, and that will create a view on, that creates a place for you to create CA subcircle issues, simple as that.
So, all right. So when I first looked at the other board, okay, and you and I agreed on this stuff, and that there's ongoing issues. When I looked at the board itself, I thought, okay, well, it should be just like a project. Whatever this task is, it should have a beginning and an end. So it's not like ongoing. So when I look at these boards, I'm thinking that that should be the way this is, that I have a beginning and an end. I'm going to update this board, update this CA thing, and then I'm done, and I can move it off.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone is with us on this, I can give you another reason why I wanted to move to the beta view, because the beta view allows you to add dates and deadlines. So, if you scroll across the Nadia to the right-hand side, and we're going to build a new board here. We're going to add the plus sign there on the board itself. Sorry, you go back to your tab again, and I mean the actual in the board. So you could add a field under there. So if you scroll across to the right hand side of your view there, and the way it's got that plus sign, yeah, that's it. Yeah, click on that. So this is where we can add new fields and stuff like that. So we're going to add a new one. So click on new field, and then you click on the options there. Now we have date. Click on date, and then just type in due date. Okay, save that, and we now have a due date. So that can all these problems can be grouped by any of these as well, Joey. So, and also we can change the status. Okay, so but again, we have as we've been discussing, let's maybe not revisit it. We have a problem with the status because the status.
Stephen, sorry to interrupt you. I do need to go to another meeting in 6 minutes. Wondering if we have already gone through all the technicalities of the basic adding issues and problems so far.
We have. Do you feel clear on that, Dumpling?
I can do a callback. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Yeah, if you need another session, that's fine. On quickly, I mean, we'll obviously, I'll upload this video to QA DAO if you like, or I can keep it private and just upload it to Slack, whatever.
It's okay with me too, if you want to publish and benefit more people. I don't know if Nadia is comfortable with it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, also we're talking about the prioritized problems as well, so it might be of interest to people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So
I did notice here, this still shows up here on my, I guess it doesn't matter, because if we were looking at prioritized problems, it still would be best for me to see all of my stuff.
It just shows you that I haven't completely refined this board, because I should actually be putting a filter to just say prioritized problems in the left. Where it says the label at the top, of the left-hand side at the top, that's where the filtering is going on there.
Yeah.
So I just need to filter that more extensively. Also, another thing, if you look at the purple there, this is what's confusing people in the meeting. They're closed. And I need to filter the board so no closed issues appear, because obviously that's confusing people, so we can do that as well. So next time there'll just be open issues, okay? There'll just be prioritized problems, and we can put in due dates as well, Joey. So, but there's still the problem with status, because, and all I can say is that we circle, and we all need to work together on that, don't we? Yeah.
Work in progress. I understand it.
Yeah.
Technical question. So I could delete this myself and it will be gone. You don't have to do that, right?
Yes, I would just delete it from the view. It doesn't delete it permanently.
Oh, okay.
So you can do that. It's fine. Yeah. It just deletes. You see the wording. It just deletes it from the project. It doesn't delete it completely. Okay, so that's fine. Yeah. So remember, this is a filter. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a filter. It's not. It's like spreadsheet filter or something like that. Okay, but if you have any ideas about, I mean, there's other ways we can present this data. Okay, so we can group by anything we like. Actually, we could group by assignees, we could group by status, we could group by due date as well. Let's say we're working on something towards an event you're working towards. We could set a milestone for that, and then I iterate towards that, so on every 2 weeks, and then we could group that by every 2 weeks. Joey, that's one thing in terms of project management stuff, so. But I think we're
should that issues section, I guess, I don't know. I think it's good to have the community issues board there and to receive things there, because some people do know how to use this, and that would be maybe a nice thing. So maybe that's a future conversation of like, how can it would be nice to just let people raise the issues here and to be able to sort through those and, respond to people in that way. So.
Yeah, it's also, if you go to tool makers for Joey's board for a moment on the tab, because that was causing some confusion, wasn't it, Joey, in terms of what is relevant to you and not, So if this board doesn't have much, well, we would filter this to assignees ideally, so just be your problems, Joey. Yeah. And then we do need to, as you were saying, Nadia, there are because you were talking a lot about the status of these older problems, like how to nurture a listening culture and all that kind of stuff. And I have to admit, I did raise that problem, but it's not really being self-critical. I don't think it's a problem because there's an issue of an ongoing problem, you know.
Right.
So it's not well defined, is it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was talking about. Somehow under that, there needs to be a specific task as a beginning and an end, and then that can go to community or whatever. I don't know.
The problem, I mean, obviously there is a problem with community issues because I just created it like a kind of emergency measure, just a place to hold stuff, because at the time, funny enough, circle members do criticize from time to time, you may have noticed. And, yeah.
Lightly.
Yeah, so at the time I was personally, and we were receiving a lot of criticism about being opaque. I'm not sure if any of this sounds familiar, and making decisions in private, that kind of thing. And so I said, look, anyone in the community, here's a place that anyone in the community can come and raise an issue. Okay, but we don't have a process for dealing with that, Joey. And
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and also there's this emerging subcircle thing that's going on, okay, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
So if I were to give,
maybe as a takeaway from this, we can do some of the defining of the status, or maybe defining of the status and adjusting it if it needs, because that'll be important too.
I mean, maybe we should do a separate working party on all that together, because that's quite a big one.
Yeah.
Because you are redefining the circle process.
Right.
Yeah. So that they can't get much more. It's a significant. That would be a problem. Actually, that would be a prioritized problem. So maybe we could propose that now. And actually, I think Harris would be on board with that, I imagine. So if you go to community, just say add item, like what would we call this? Review and revise the prioritized problems process. It's actually not the board, it's the process.
I thought I saw on one of the slides that you popped up earlier, there was Harris had to define the process. Is that somewhere where I can
let me
take
just
that and look at it?
I'll see if I can quickly find it.
Well, I don't need it now. You can send it later. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'll post it in Slack, Joey, because the
or as part of this thing you're putting up here, you can put the link there. That way we can all review it.
Yeah. So this will be, obviously that'd be problem backlog. Again, this is a shared problem, isn't it? So, but I suppose the assignee, and Harris was raising this point yesterday, which is interesting. I'd be careful about assigning this to more than one person, okay? Because the assignee,
you can throw my name.
You can do that, but bear in mind that you are, if you assign yourself, what that means at the moment is that you are working on this, you own this, okay? And as Harris pointed out, I think it doesn't mean you're actually working on it, it means you're leading it, you're responsible for it.
Okay, you can assign Nadia, that's okay.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing this because I'm facing this right now myself.
But to be honest, I think you will be.
Either way, I'll work on it too.
It's a problem. You need to raise this at Circle because it's a biggie, you know. So because what you're saying is that we want to revise the process. So
because what I would recommend is that you would see a task that come under that community issue. And once that task is completed, then that community issue goes back to the community until there's another task under that, you know.
I would put in, as well as status definitions, I would put workflow, because it is a workflow, Nadia.
Yes, it's a workflow.
I think, that's quite nice. Yeah. And that's the issue, because that's why it's so important, because this will change the way you are working.
Yeah.
And that if you're changing that, you can imagine what the equivalent is in Parliament or in Congress. It's like Congress saying we're going to change the way we are voted for, or something like that. It's a bit like saying that. You know,
understand.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. That excites me because I want to make sure that I have such a little molehill of stuff to address from not circle stuff, but more just like our VCA stuff. And now we have the whole process with Mercy. So it'd be nice to have a sense of this, because some of these things might need to go into this funnel. And it would be good to really understand it deeply.
I mean, it's probably the most important thing you can do in some ways, apart from, I suppose the most important thing might be the voting process. But or actually the top one would be, what is Catalyst Circle? Okay, that's the top one. Underneath that is, how is Catalyst Circle voted for? That's the next one. And then maybe, what is Catalyst Circle responsible for? And then how does Catalyst Circle work? And this is, how does Catalyst Circle work?
Yeah.
What
do you think, Steve? So I just jotted all that down as you were saying it. What do you think about? I think sooner than later we should start. I know that we're a far ways off from the voting again, but it'd be nice to start that conversation and start to just getting feedback.
It's a very common cause of, you may have noticed on social media, like people like that, I won't mention any names, sorry, I almost did, but who will criticize Circle because they will say, you don't have a franchise, because only a small number of people voted for you using Google Sheets or something, Google Forms rather.
I was thinking the same thing, Nadia. That even last night or this morning about 4 o'clock, I woke up and that's what I was thinking of. Unfortunately, I hate to be thinking about this stuff.
Unfortunately, I can dig out, if you're really interested in that, I can dig out. I mean, I'm lucky, I suppose, because Vanessa and me do documentation of Circle, and that's why we have this knowledge, or hopefully you can share this knowledge. So, but
well, I think this whole, like, to those 4 questions, if we start thinking about them now, it won't be like the tactics of the operational stuff of getting the things done later on is easy to figure out. But I think it should be like kind of a longer conversation, because with everyone involved, because then we have a lot of space to not feel urgent about it, and a lot of conversation.
I totally agree.
Also, this is a kind of collaboration with IOG, remember. So Harris has Harris. It's a problem set. Was it a problem sensing governance mechanism? I mean, there's all these perennial things that come up, like, are you a decision-making body, or do you? I mean, I have my own views on you. I think you are. I think it's ridiculous to say that you don't make decisions. So but then it's how you make those decisions that is maybe clarity, because I think it's okay for you to make decisions as long as it's not an individual making it, or it's not arbitrary decisions. It has to come from somewhere, because that's the problem sensing. That's where the problem sensing comes in. And you have to, that's not good enough to say that it has come from somewhere. You have to say, you have to document it as well, or you have to refer to where it came from. It's not just saying it has come. You see what I mean? So
I like that.
Yeah,
it's good. So let me ask a quick question. So if I were to give out the community link, is it okay to do that at this point, or
for the because that's already public, Joe. And but also I would say that and anyone who's watching this is part of a discussion about what community issues should be.
Right. Okay. Just kind of put a note with it.
On the voting issue, we had discussions in Catalyst Circle version 2 about, I think, because TiVo had some ideas for prototyping voting. I would keep this a live issue if I were you, maybe even as a prioritized problem, where for all of you, that to say, because time goes quickly and soon enough you're coming round to vote on Circle members again, and you need to be ready, and the next time it would be ideally be some sort of more sophisticated system, not necessarily on chain, could be off chain maybe, but and it's as you say, it's an ongoing cause of criticism for people who think Circle don't think Circle is as worthwhile as others, let's put it that way. And it gives them ammunition, because they have a point. If if you don't, if mass numbers of people aren't able to vote for us, I mean, there's problems with that as well, to be honest. But you know, yeah, you see what I mean. So there you go.
Yeah, and even so, if it becoming a problem here, I think is important. It should become a problem sooner, especially with the amount of conversation that's happening around it. I think it would be fantastic if we could start to, the engagement is high, and when engagement is high, even if it's for, even if it's because people are not happy, then at least you can harness and have a conversation about, okay, what do you think then? Because we have such a brilliant community with so many minds in here and so many perspectives that that conversation could be really interesting and really like.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're doing great work with the CAs, Nadia, and also that after town hall was great. That kind of collaboration with our subcircle, the Funding Mercy Funding Proposal subcircle. I know there's a conversation about scope yesterday about that, but it's also about this kind of filtering process, this summarizing process. And we touched on it here, like because what you do, you go out, you talk to the community, and it generates a lot of issues, doesn't it, about something. And then I think you actually use the term at the after town hall, like when does that, I'm not crystallized, but when do those issues have commonalities, you know, common themes, okay? And then when does those common themes become a problem? You know, in a positive sense. I mean, not a problem in a negative sense, something that we can resolve.
Yeah.
And that will show.
Great definition for problem too. Something we can resolve, or
that goes back to review and revise the process, the workflow, because what is a problem? That's where you're going to start. It's a pretty big question, but.
I'll be very happy to be in a follow-up conversation about these things, because I think it'll be nice to usher them into a place of
I mean, I know
better understanding and transparency.
I'm happy to take part in the back. Like in version 1 of Circle, Dor and Victor Corsino worked together on a revised process. I don't think it was quite implemented. So it has been done before. There is precedence for, you know, it's understood that, you know, decentralized, we're working towards a decentralized governance here. You know, it's going to be a trial and error, okay, iteration. So by all means, but then there's kind of, that's okay, but it's also doing that so people can see what you're doing, you know, as well. So obviously, so.
Super.
Okay, so
very helpful, Stephen. Thank you for your time and walking us through this here, I think.
Okay, I'll just stop the recording.
Yes.